This episode of History to Go is a little bit different than other episodes because we're coming to you from a storage shed. You see, I got a call not too long ago from a guy named Telly, and he said, "I just bought WYATT EARP'S bar." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "That would make a great episode of History to Go." So here I am in Las Vegas in a storage shed with this bar that Telly says belonged to WYATT EARP. Hi, I'm Ted Faye, and I like finding history. It can be in a museum, a hotel, a park, inside or outside, in a church, a house, a store, and of course old buildings and even ghost towns. Wherever there were people, they made history. So I've set out to find those cool places and things that have a great past. Just think of me as your history delivery guy, who brings you new and fresh servings of history to go. So joining me here at the bar is Telly.
Hi, Ted.
Hey, Telly, and his wife,
Carolyn.
Now, Telly, you gave me a call, and tell me a little bit about what led up to that call before you said, "Hey, Ted, I've got WYATT EARP'S bar."
Well, you know how I feel about your films. Before all that, I thought maybe this is something you might want to do.
What got you guys interested in this historical stuff?
Well, we're native Nevadans.
Yeah.
We love the area. We started traveling up north. Fell in love with the mining towns. And just kind of went from there, investigated more.
The path opened up.
And then what happened? How did you find this bar?
Well, I found it on eBay.
Great. A lot of cool things get sold on eBay.
Sure do.
Yeah, and bought, apparently.
Yeah, I bought it from a man in the Palm Desert in California, who's an antiques dealer. And now it's back here in Las Vegas, and I plan to move it back up to Goldfield.
The WYATT EARP connection, though, really seems to be in Tonopah, because that's where he had the Northern Saloon. He actually owned an interest in the saloon there. And so we're saying that this bar was in the Northern, and that WYATT EARP had an interest in the Northern. So that's the WYATT EARP connection, right? The contact with him. I think what we want to do is we want to take a look at this bar in some detail with you. Let's do that. The bar is a classic made by Brunswick and contains hints as to its travels, like this from a desert collector nicknamed Death Valley Curly on September 16, 1937. It was then that the bar was moved from the Mayflower Hotel in Beatty, Nevada, to the old railroad depot in the ghost town of Rhyolite, just 7 miles away. There, Mr. Westmoreland, or Wes, ran a roadhouse and casino. But what about these bullet holes? Well, it had been in Rhyolite years earlier at the Beavis and Turpin Saloon, when the town was booming. The holes are the result of a shootout in 1905. 2 men were killed, and the back mirror was blown out. And before that, the bar started in Virginia City, Nevada in 1894. By 1900, that town was fading into history as a new silver rush began several hundred miles south in what was called Tonopah. Located by Jim Butler and his wife Belle, their claims were some of the richest ever made. Prospectors, miners, promoters, and dreamers came, set up their tents, and went to work, looking for wealth. And it was there in 1902 that famed lawman WYATT EARP is said to have set up his bar. So I headed to Tonopah and met up with someone who could help me sort this all out. Mike Polak has been digging at the location of what is believed to be the EARP bar. He's an archaeologist who's been unearthing the history of the West in old bottles for more than 40 years. Now, Tonopah, Nevada is very different now than it was when WYATT EARP was here. Of course,
Right.
we hear the trucks going by, we hear
Yeah.
the cars, the motorcycles, everybody. But still, Tonopah was growing in 1902, right? I mean, it was a real boom town, right?
It was just a new town, new gold, silver rush. And gold, by the way, in Goldfield was discovered about 2 years later.
Right.
So that brought more people into Tonopah and vice versa into Goldfield.
What brought WYATT EARP to Tonopah, Nevada?
Money.
Money.
One thing about WYATT EARP and his entire family, the brothers, everybody, they were entrepreneurs. Yeah, they were lawmen. They were also gunfighters. But they were entrepreneurs first. When they first came to Tombstone, they did not go there with the intent for law enforcement. They went there to open up a trade goods lumberyard, a type of a general store, and that was their intent. They got pulled into the law issue because they ran into trouble with the local cowboys who decided they wanted to take things over.
So Tonopah, Nevada was really famous. I mean, for Wyatt Earp to hear about it.
Yeah.
And did he hear about it when he was in Tombstone?
No, he heard about it in Alaska.
Oh, he heard about Tonopah when he was in Alaska.
Because they came from Alaska. The gold rush that was in Alaska.
Okay.
In Dawson and those areas
Right.
there. He heard about the silver strike, and they said, you know what? We've made our money here. They sold all their interest, and they said, let's move to Tonopah, and there's money to be made.
Did Wyatt Earp actually have a saloon here?
He actually had a saloon here. In fact, we're standing where the Vienna Bakery was. Right to my right is where the saloon was, and it was right in the front, and it went back probably a good 70, 80 feet back.
How do we know that Wyatt Earp actually had a saloon here?
Well, we have a great photo of his wife Josie on horseback in front of the saloon, and at the top it says Northern Saloon, Wyatt Earp.
We are actually standing on the location of where Wyatt Earp's bar was.
This is it. You're right here on top of it, right here.
Right here. So can you kind of lay it out for me, like
Sure.
what we're looking at here?
Well, you'd be looking at a dirt. There was no pavement. It was all dirt. So you'd see a dirt street. And it would be right there at the edge where the pavement is today, where the sidewalk is. And it would probably be 15 to 20 feet wide. And it would go back about 90 to 100 feet this way.
Okay.
So it wasn't wide, big wide, but it was long.
Okay.
So you could get a lot of people in that bar. They had faro tables, they'd have poker tables, maybe a roulette table.
So if I had a 30-foot Brunswick bar that I wanted to put in here, sort of walk down for me maybe how long it would be and where it might be.
I would suspect it would be, if you take a look at that to 90 feet,
Yeah.
I would suspect that the bar would probably be somewhere right about here and wouldn't have gone all the way to the opening of the door. They would have come in,
Right.
and they would have been on the right-hand side. Most of the bars then were.
On the right-hand side when you come in.
When you came in,
So,
as you
well,
came
like
in.
the Bucket of Blood in Virginia City, the bar's on the right-hand side when
Right,
you come in.
exactly,
Right.
right. 1901, the bar set was bought by Al Martin, who, by the way, was the partner with Wyatt Earp that owned the Northern Saloon,
Okay.
for a new saloon and gambling hall called the Northern, and new mining camp of Tonopah in central Nevada. Martin's partner was Wyatt Earp. So that's some good provenance.
And if I was Al Martin and I was partnered with Wyatt Earp, he would be my marquee, right? He'd be my marketing hook, right? He'd be the guy that would sell the bar.
He's the go-to guy because people would want to come in and see Wyatt Earp. If they had a paparazzi then, they would be following Wyatt Earp all over the town, all over Alaska, Arizona, whatever state he was in, because he represented the West.
When you think about that beautiful Brunswick bar in there.
Yeah, that bar would have just accented it. It would have been the statement piece.
After our research in Tonopah, I asked Mike to join me at the storage shed in Las Vegas with Carolyn and Telly. Now, what about just the possibility that such a bar like this would have been brought to Tonopah?
Because they had other bars similar in other places.
So possibly Telly's standing where Wyatt Earp could have had his hands right there where Wyatt Earp had his hands back in 1905.
Right. Because you know what, that was a working bar. So Wyatt Earp, while he had a wild background with his law enforcement, he also was a hard worker.
So just in a nutshell for us, the possibility on a scale of 1 to 10 that this bar actually belonged to Wyatt Earp and was at the Northern Saloon in Tonopah is?
I'd put at least at a 7. because, you know, I haven't reviewed all the documents, I've looked at a lot of them, but based on what I've read, based on what I understood and heard, I would at least make it 7, 8 this was the bar, you know.
So how do you guys feel about that? The hearing that this bar actually has a pretty good shot of being Wyatt Earp's, that where we're standing and what we're touching, actually that famous lawman did as well. Or I love it
Oh,
more.
it's exhilarating.
Yeah.
It brings a whole new meaning to the bar.
Yeah.
It isn't just a bar anymore. It isn't just a beautiful bar anymore. It brings a meaning that you had the Earp name attached to it.
And the historical value is really what we're interested in History to Go. So, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time with us and taking the trip to Tonopah. And Telly, great to meet you and to actually see this bar
Nice
here
seeing
in
you guys.
Carolyn. And you guys,
Nice seeing you guys.
what a great trip we've had and a great story about the bar that, with a 7 chance out of 10, probably belonged to the famous lawman, Wyatt Earp. Well, let's wrap this up by following the bar's journey. We know it started in Virginia City in 1894, then on to Tonopah, Goldfield, Rhyolite, Beatty, back to Rhyolite, on to Las Vegas, over to Tombstone, and on to Palm Desert, California. And now, it's back in Goldfield. And it's here where the old bar that belonged to Wyatt Earp can be found. So while we're hanging out here in Goldfield, come on back and join us as we discover a strange tale of one of Nevada's richest bankers.